What's up, you guys? It's time for another Q&A. Let me just see if this is gonna work for me or not. I'm also totally faking it. I'm wearing sweatpants. But I mean, what else are you gonna wear for a Q&A? Wanna be comfy, right? Haven't done a Q&A since like before I moved in here, I think. I did a moving related Q&A, but I haven't sat down and chatted with you guys in a little while. So I thought this would be fun for today. I went through the questions a little bit this morning, but I haven't really had a chance to look at them in depth. So let's see what you guys asked. My shirt definitely smells like sunscreen. Which is funny because I washed this for sure, but I guess sometimes it just doesn't leave your clothes. This is just gonna have to be a beach shirt, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna start with a modeling question. If I'm already with a modeling agency and I'm not happy and want to change, how do I do that? So before you go and change an agency, I always tell girls that you should have a conversation with your current agency and just kind of open up about what's going on, maybe the reason why you're unhappy or what the issues are. Because if you don't communicate it and you don't make an effort to tell them, it's just gonna look bad on you, right? As much as you probably wanna move on to something better as soon as possible, it's actually better to take your time and chat with your current agency rather than rushing to find a new agency or, you know, potentially putting yourself in a bad position. So the first thing you wanna do is you wanna set up a meeting and just lay it on the table and, you know, talk about the things that you're not happy with. And you also want to ask them for feedback, right? Because a lot of the times it takes two to tango, you know? So, you know, maybe the agency is not doing their part, but maybe there's also something that you could be doing better in order to improve the relationship. So yeah, after the meeting, you'll have a better idea if you should continue with them or not. There's so many things that could happen, like they could own up to something that they're maybe, you know, not putting enough effort in, and they'll tell you we'll do better. And then you know, you should give them the time to show you. They could also offer to let you go. I know that that's happened to a lot of girls where the agency is just like, look, we don't know how we can market you. We don't know what more we can do for your look. Maybe there's an agency out there that's better for you and can actually help you succeed better than we can. It's hard to know what an agency is gonna say because it's different for everyone. You know, if you're doing really well at the agency and you're making a lot of money, they're gonna be less likely to want to let you go, and you're probably gonna have to stick out the contract. But if you're, oh my God, sorry guys, I'm a mess. If you're, you know, not making money and you're not being successful and you think that the agency has a part in that, then they will probably be willing to let you go because you're just like incurring expenses for them too at that point, right? Another thing that makes it a little bit more difficult is if you have a visa, because your visa is attached to your contract. So if you're a model who wants to change their agency, you're either gonna have to break the contract and then look for another agency. Depending on your situation, the new agency might be able to switch the visa onto their contract or like under their business name, but sometimes you have to actually start over or you have to wait out the contract. So this is again why it's important to explore all of the options with your current agency first before you start looking outside, because if you don't do it in a professional and an ethical way, you're not going to create a good reputation for yourself, and that should be your priority always. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Always be professional. Always initiate a conversation, initiate communication. It's so important. And a lot of the times, like even for me in the past, you know, with my agent, we don't have the bond that we have because everything's always been rosy and everything's always been easy, you know? Like I had to be honest with her and she's had to be honest with me, and that's what brings you closer. It's like all relationships really. So yeah, I feel like I'm rambling at this point, but that's like how I would go about it if I were to change agencies. Craziest thing you've ever done? Bezos back. I've never done anything crazy in terms of jumping out of a plane or bungee jumping or anything like along those lines. I've traveled on my own very young. I lived in Tokyo when I was 15 by myself. I think that's crazy in my world. Maybe that's the craziest thing I've ever done. I don't know. Maybe you can ask me in a year from now and then I'll have something more exciting or adventurous to say. A couple questions about comparison and how to not compare yourself to other women. I feel like comparing yourself to other women comes from like lack of understanding of yourself, and also maybe like an insecurity and lack of confidence thing. I'm not saying I never compare myself to other people, because I think it's kind of natural to do that sometimes, especially maybe when you're in a situation that's uncomfortable or new. But I think if it's something that you do every day, multiple times a day, and you're just constantly comparing yourself to other women, then you need to look within yourself a little bit and just figure out what makes you special. Figure out what makes you you, and like get to know yourself. Understand what you bring to the table and what you have to offer, because everyone has something to offer. Everyone has something that makes them valuable and special. And if you don't know those things about yourself, then you have to do the work to figure those things out. Also, like, we have unlimited potential to grow. So I'll give you an example. I was working with this girl on set a couple weeks ago, and she just, like, I think that I'm a good poser and I think that I'm great at what I do, but the way that she just moved in certain ways really inspired me to like adopt some of those movements, and just the way that she was like, I can't even really verbally describe it, but I was like kind of moved by what she was doing. I was like, wow, I kind of want to adopt that. And those are things that you can do in any situation. It's the same as if you see another woman handle a situation in a very graceful way and you're like, wow, I really admire that she did that. Figure out what you have already inside of you that makes you special. Build up that confidence, build up that love for those parts of yourself. And if you feel like you can be doing a better job, like if you feel like you can be a nicer person, if you feel like you can be a kinder, more positive, more warm and loving person, then work on those parts of yourself if that's what you want, you know? So yeah, I think that that's how you stop comparing yourself to other women in a negative way, is, you know, eventually you just know yourself and you know the value that you bring like into the world, to other people, and you're happy with that, you're at peace with that. And like another woman might be better at you in something and vice versa, but that doesn't shake you because you know what you bring to the table, you know? Okay, I guess this question kind of goes hand in hand with that. How do you handle jealousy within your friend group or among your peers? I think that I've said this before, but I am super lucky with the friends that I have. Like, we don't have competition between each other. We don't have this underlying tension or jealousy or anything. Yeah, it's funny, I'm trying to think of a scenario where there's been jealousy in the past, but I honestly can't think of anything. We're all kind of just, the way that my friend circles work, and I have I have my OG group of friends. We met in like 2015, and then we have you know, some of those girls have now moved and gotten married and things. Now we have like a secondary group of people who've kind of joined in, and then I have friends in other places. I feel lucky to have like a really good amount of quality girlfriends, but you know, we're all very different people, and we all kind of have our own personalities and we have our own thing going on. I think we just have a really healthy dynamic, and we accept one another, we love one another, we show support and like loyalty to one another, and there's no shit talking, there's no like talking behind people's backs. We don't sit in a circle and gossip. Like, all my friends just really talk about where we're going and what we're doing and what our plans are, and you know, our vision, and yeah, that's just who my friends are. So I'm sorry if I don't really have a good answer for that, but maybe I can inspire you to kind of check your circle of friends. It doesn't mean you can't be friends with certain people, but if there's, you know, one person who's constantly bringing like negativity or jealousy into the group, maybe you can, you know, maybe this can inspire you to kind of like check your friend group, because not only is it going to drag you down, but it's also going to like pull you into that same conversation. You know, you want to be surrounded by people who inspire you and motivate you and bring you up, and people who you can trust. Like, trust is really important. You can't just trust anybody. That sounded very dark. Any makeup products you started using recently? Also, do you use fragrance? So the fragrance that I use is from YSL. I'll have it linked in the description box. It's the clear bottle with the gold YSL label on it. And I think I've been using it since it came out, maybe like 3 years ago. Love it. And then makeup products I started using recently, I'm still using pretty much all the same stuff. But I did just get this lipstick from NARS. One of the makeup artists that I work with was using this on me on set, and I loved it because it's like an enhanced version of my natural color. I'm not a big lipstick girl. I find that it's really hard for me to find a color that I like, and I also think that when it's the wrong color, it really changes my face. So I tend to stick with just lip balm. My lips are pretty pigmented naturally, but I recently got this, it's actually a lip balm. It's a soft matte tinted lip balm. It's in the shade Unrestricted from NARS, and this is like my preferred color. I love it. It's like a dark, like berry, taupey berry color. And that's kind of the color that would work for me. Anything that's too red or brown or orange doesn't really look good on me. But yeah, anyway, I love this. I literally just got it last week after work. So I'll have this linked if you guys are into the same kind of makeup as me. I feel like I'm squinting a little bit. I need to like, maybe I should put the shade down. That might be a good idea. Oh no. I don't know if that's gonna change the light, but we'll see when I edit it. How do you stay at peace with who you are and or what you do, especially in New York City? That's such a nice, deep, thoughtful question. I think that when you are authentic in who you are and authentic in what you do, it's easy to be at peace. I think that when you start to act in a certain way that's not true to yourself, or you start to do things that aren't true to who you are or your purpose, that's kind of when you fall off track, and maybe when you're not at peace. Obviously, I'm very lucky to be doing what I'm doing. You know, having a job that I love. I love what I do. I make good money, and I also have free time to do other things that make me happy and things that I'm passionate about, and you know, build something for the future, you know, this and other stuff that I'm working on. So yeah, I think that that's how I kind of stay at peace with who I am and what I do. Is I try and you don't even have to try, really. Like, you just have to be. You just have to be yourself and be authentic and show up that way every day. Whether it's, you know, going to a photo shoot or filming a video or having lunch with a friend, just be you, be yourself. What else was I gonna say? Something just came into my mind while I was talking. Oh yeah, the comparison thing. It goes back to the comparison question from earlier. Like, the more secure you are of yourself and who you are, and the less you are distracted by other people and like what they're doing and who they are and blah, 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 like, the more you'll be at peace. because you just accept yourself and you focus on you and who you are and what your journey and purpose is, you know? Don't get distracted by other people and their paths. Like, focus on you and yours. Okay, how do you cope with struggles about yourself and overthinking? I've definitely gotten better at overthinking. I don't think I've completely mastered it by any means, because I still will overthink certain things sometimes. I think if you care about anything, you'll overthink. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but sometimes if you're not careful, especially for women, we tend to like fill in the blanks a lot of the time. So we'll start to like create scenarios, or we'll create outcomes, or we'll, you know, create these expectations that aren't actually real. It's honestly one of the hardest things to gain control over. For me, the worst is when I'm just like sitting here by myself and my brain starts to think about things. And so the best thing for me to do in that moment is to just like change the channel, whether that's going to distract myself with, you know, a show, or calling a friend, or journaling. I know I sound like a broken record because I speak about journaling all the time, but I've realized that usually when I'm overthinking something, it's because I'm looking for clarity and I'm trying to create clarity. And I've had to accept that, you know, there's a lot of situations in life where you're just not going to get clarity right away, and you have to be patient, and you kind of just have to like leave things for what they are and let them unfold naturally. So going back to your question, like when I'm having one of those moments or I'm like overthinking something, I will usually go and write it out and just kind of like straighten the facts for myself. I'm not really a journal prompt person, but if you journal in like a prompt style, you should start with what is fact and what is fiction about whatever scenario you're thinking about. That prompt is really helpful because it shows you what's actually happening versus what your mind is trying to create, you know, on its own. So yeah, that's probably my biggest tip. I'm not perfect, and I definitely have moments where, just like any other person, I like overthink something, or I maybe get into like a spiral in my mind, but like I think as long as you're doing healthy things to take care of that and not numbing it or distracting yourself from it in an unhealthy way, then it's just you being human. What is one language you'd love to learn? I've always wanted to learn Spanish. I took Spanish in high school. I know a lot of Spanish words, and other than Dutch and English, Spanish is probably the language that I know best, but like conversation wouldn't last very long, you know? So it's something that I really want to do, and I think eventually I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna do that. The only thing that's hard with languages is you kind of need someone around you to speak with, because, you know, there's so many apps out there and there's lessons you can take, but if you're not surrounded by it and speaking it and being forced to speak it, it's really hard to it's actually really hard to learn and keep up a language. So maybe in the future, maybe in the near future. Okay, I'm gonna end with a question that was asked a couple times. What are my goals in the next 5 years? So I still want to model for as long as I can, or until I decide to have kids, or, you know, until I maybe decide I want to do something else. But for now, I still feel like I have a really good career ahead of me in terms of modeling. I kind of have luck on my side that I look as young as I do for 25. So if I want to model for a long time, I have the opportunity to do so. And I think for the next 2 or 3 years, I'll still be modeling full time. That being said, I have always wanted to do more. I've always known that I wanted to transition into something that was a little bit more emotionally fulfilling. Not that modeling isn't fulfilling, because I obviously love my job, and, you know, you get to work with amazing people, but I've just always had this innate feeling that I want to have a career where I'm able to give back, where I'm able to provide value to people. I don't care about product, I don't care about marketing, I don't care about any of that stuff. I care about people. I don't know how much I want to share about this right now. This also makes it hard because I'm not really the kind of person to just like throw my ideas out. But yeah, bringing it back to the question, I think the next 5 years will be a mix of me, you know, doing what I do now, wanting to still grow the channel, but also prioritizing like that next phase in my life where I, you know, want to maybe start my own thing in one way or another. I would love to work with aspiring models, and then maybe eventually like transition into working with other groups of younger people. Oh my god, my battery's gonna die. But that's kind of where my vision lies for the next 5 years. I hope that's not too ambiguous. Okay, got a new battery. Okay, well, this is gonna be the end of the Q&A. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any questions or comments, or I don't know, you wanna leave me a little note, story to share, or, you know, your 2 cents, leave them in the comment section down below. I love getting to talk to you guys and just like hearing your perspective. So don't hesitate. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah!